Hi, good morning from the Putnam Library Live. My name is Bethany. It is so good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. I want to introduce you to Adam. Adam is the owner of Mountain State Flower Farm, one of our local and most favorite flower farms. Today he's going to show you how to refresh, maybe if you have an old wreath at your house that just needs a little something extra. He's going to give us some ideas about how to refresh a wreath. If you have any questions or comments, please type them in below. We'll try to take a look at those and answer any questions that you might have before the end of the session. But if you can't tune in live, we are going to save this to our IGTV. So if you want to comment later, we'll try to check back and answer your questions. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam, and he's going to show us some really interesting crafts and things that we can do to refresh our wreaths this holiday season. Thanks.
Thanks, Bethany. Good morning, guys. My name's Adam, like Bethany said. I'm owner of Mountain State Flower Farm here in Putnam County. What I do is I do seasonal cut flowers. So I do fresh cut flowers from April all the way through October. And then right now during the holiday season, I do Christmas wreaths and indoor potted arrangements with blooming flowers. But today what I'm going to show you is how we are going to refresh an old wreath. So I got this from my mom. She had a bunch of silk flowers on it. So what I did was I just peeled them all off. One thing with wired grapevine wreaths like this, they're either hot glued in or they're made with wire, which if it's made with wire, it's really easy. All you'll do is you'll just snip a piece of the wire off and it'll all just unfurl itself. So super easy to deconstruct one of these. So what we're doing is I have paddle wire, super easy, if you can see that, accessible at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart. So what we're going to do, we're going to start at the bottom of this wreath and we're going to work our way up. So I attached my paddle wire, just twisting it onto some of the branches. And I brought some evergreens today, so I have this stuff right here is going to be called Leyland cypress. A lot of people have this in their yards. I have one of these in my yard, and it's super amazing for cutting off of. And the last option is actually arborvitae, which is often a hedge that people plant in their yards as well. So very easy. Both of these are really easy to find. You can find them at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart.
And not in other people's yards.
And not in other people's yards. We cut everything from our family and friends' yards. Alright, so what I'm going to do is we're going to make small bunches. So I grabbed about four or five of the Leyland cypress. And then I normally do about one thing of arborvitae. So if you can sort of see that. We're going to try and make it go off of the size of the wreath. So that way it's about the correct size. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay it on your wreath. You're going to take your wire and you're going to go around 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to make sure you want to pull the wire really tight. So what's going to happen is these evergreens are going to dry in place, which means their stems are going to shrink a little bit. So when you pull that wire extremely tight, it's going to keep the evergreens all in place and they're not going to fall out of your wreath come January when you need it to still look nice for your house. So we're just going to make another real quick bundle here, and we're going to layer this one on top, but we're going to tilt it out from the center of the wreath because we still want to see the center of the wreath, but the outside can be as fluffy as we want. So we're going to go again, and we're going to wrap 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to keep doing this. Now, other things that I use to make wreaths, Colorado blue spruce. Those are really accessible to buy at Lowe's. Plant in your yard. And it adds a lot of things to you. So it adds winter interest to your yard. So your yard doesn't look completely barren in the middle of January and February and March. And then what this also is going to do is it provides you supplies for your holiday things. So instead of going and buying a wreath every single year, you can make your own with stuff in your yard. So I use Leyland cypress, arborvitae, cedar, smells amazing in wreaths, as well as Colorado blue spruce, any type of fir, like a Douglas fir or noble fir, those are really good as well. And the one that is really nice that I like to use a lot of, but I didn't bring today, is actually holly. You're going to want to make sure that you wear a lot of gloves with holly because it will stick your hands a lot and hurt. But holly has those amazing red berries to look really festive during the holiday season. So we're just going to keep making this.
Now, is holly dangerous at home for animals?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're... Okay, that's good.
I know it'll hurt, like, if you touch it.
Okay.
Like, I wear, like, big leather gloves when I use holly because
But it's okay around pets?
To my knowledge.
To your knowledge, okay.
Yeah. So we're just going to make a few more of these, which I also did bring today, which not sure if you can see. I brought some dried oranges and pine cones. So I'll show you how I wired those up, but I will talk about those right now. So the oranges, I actually don't use oranges. Because in the drying process, for me anyways, when I've done it, oranges lose their color really quickly, and they're not 100% dry. So instead, I use grapefruit. Grapefruit's going to stay really nice, colorful, and it dries a lot nicer than oranges. So to dry those, I put them in an oven at 200 degrees on parchment paper or just on a cookie sheet. And I let them bake for, it takes about 6 hours at my house. And just every hour I go through and I just flip them all, and then I even switch the pans. So like I start on the bottom shelf, move them to the top shelf, and I just keep the rotation going. That way it helps them from burning, because the smell of a burnt orange or grapefruit is not the best in the world. But I will say it does look way more nicer having the grapefruit than it does have actual oranges. But you also can dry lemons and limes. I have done that before, as well as dried apples, and those are very nice. The only thing I would say is if you live in a very squirrel populated area, may not be the best choice because the squirrels will definitely eat some of your stuff off of your wreath. So now that we got this far, what we're going to do is we are going to cut our paddle wire. So I just have my clippers here, and I'm going to flip it around, and all we're going to do is take our wire and we're just going to tuck it through some of the grapevine, and then we're going to pull it through really tight, and then we're going to take it around the actual wire itself, sort of almost making a loop. Alright, maybe. Alright, and here we go. And then now that it's around the wire itself, it's going to hold it together a little bit more. So then I just sort of tie it around some of the evergreens, the ends of the stems. This part doesn't really matter too much as long as you have the initial tie good. So now we're here. So we're going to work on the oranges. So, or technically grapefruit. So what I do is I take a piece of wire, and you're going to go a lot longer than you think you need. So I do about shoulder width for me. We're just going to cut it, and we're going to take the wire, and we're going to shove it through the flesh of the grapefruit, not the rind. And we're going to go to about the halfway point. We're going to pull them and twist. Just twist a few times. So we got our grapefruit like this, and then we're going to take our evergreens, we're going to sort of pull them back, if y'all can see that. And then we're going to sort of wiggle the wire through to the back, and we're just going to take it, pull it, and twist. And I just twisted about 2 or 3 times just to get it secure, and then that little orange right there is not falling out at all. So I do the same thing with a few more oranges, and I just sort of wiggle the wire. You want to pull the wire through the evergreens, not around them, because if you pull it around, you're just going to tie them all down, and then it's not going to look as fluffy and full as you had it originally. So we're just going to tie it again a few times right here. Alright. So I'm going to put just a few more of these grapefruits in really quickly.
And I bet that makes your house smell so good while you dry those.
It does. Your house is going to smell... If you have people in your house that are sensitive to scents, you definitely don't want to do it then. Maybe wait till they're at work or something. But for sure, if you love the smell of fresh citrus in your house will smell like citrus all day long. So next I brought some pine cones, which some I already have wired up, but I have one here that is not. So I'm going to show you how I wire a pine cone. You want just about as much wire as you had originally for the grapefruits, but I go a little bit farther. And we're going to take this, cut it. Now the pine cones, what you're going to do is, they have the scales, that's what I call them, not sure what it's technically called. So I find about the midpoint of my wire, and I just sort of tuck it inside the pine cone, twist it around, and then I twist really tightly. And that's going to hold onto the pine cone really well. And we're going to do just the same thing we did with the grapefruit. So we're going to sort of tuck it in, pull the wire around through the evergreens, not pinning any of them down. Go around to the back side of the wreath, and we're just going to tie it really tight. Alright, so see, as you can tell, we're going to shake it. Nothing's falling out. That's the whole point. You want to make sure you're tying everything really tight with your wire. Because if you're not tying it tight with the wire, it'll look nice at first, and then everything's going to start slowly falling out. When you open your door, a few things here, a few things there, and then in about 2 weeks, you're going to have just nothing. So wiring is the most critical point of this part, I would say, for sure. So we're going to wire in these last few pine cones here really quickly. Now some of them I leave a little loose. He's not going to fall out, but he's going to give you some movement in your wreath a little bit. And we're going to put probably one more pine cone in, I'd say.
Now I noticed that what you're doing, you're putting you've put 3 of each.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good
3 is better than 2 or 4. I would stick with odd numbers. That's just the way I've been taught for everything, is stick with odd numbers. But yeah, stick with odd numbers for sure. Sort of gives you a little bit of balance. So we're here at this point, which is fine. It looks nice. But we're going to take it one more step. And we are going to add some wire, or some ribbon. So this ribbon is wired ribbon. It's very important that you get wired ribbon. So what I did was I did about 9 or 10 loops, and I got it all in about the size of each loop I wanted. So what I do...
Did you wrap it around your hand?
I actually wrap it around a solo cup. So that's the size I start with, and then I sort of take the inside and twist it a little bit so they're a little bit smaller, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I just have a piece of wire already cut, and I'm going to take it, and you're going to crimp it and pull like this, and then you're going to go and just twist them. So this is going to secure your ribbon, and then we're going to go in an X pattern. So we're going to take the first loop, and we're going to go this direction, second one, if I can get it, there we go. And we're going to keep going in this pattern. Now it is not going to look pretty at first, so do not get discouraged when it doesn't look like the prettiest bows you see all the time. I'm going to show you how to actually fluff out this type of bow to where it looks the best. So, we got our bow. It's not looking super pretty, but we're going to go ahead and attach it onto our wreath. So we're just going to pull the wire around the back, and we're going to tie it really tight. And then what I also do with this wire is where I have extra, I'm going to actually turn it into a little hook to hang it on your door. So it's a little bit easier. So now that we got that part already done, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to flatten this bow out. So we're going to start with the bottom ones, and we're going to try and squish them out to where they have more of a flat shape than an upright shape. And then we're going to slowly work our way inside the bow, and those we're going to add a little bit more height to. And if you feel like you put your bow on and it doesn't look the best, don't stress, don't worry. Take it off, straighten it all out, rewrap it, and just try again. It took me probably, I don't even know how many bows I had to throw away before I finally learned how to make a bow the right way to make it look proper. So bows take a lot of time. Don't stress too much about it, because if you have a storm door, your storm door is going to flatten it anyways. So it'll just look pretty for the first little bit. But here we go with our wreath with our finished bow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in behind everything, chop all the extra wire off where we put the oranges and pine cones in. And then this guy will last well into February time, just looking bright and cheerful. And then whenever you're done, just like I said earlier, you're just going to cut the wire and everything's just going to sort of unravel. And you just untie the beginning and the end from the wreath. And then you have a fresh new grapevine wreath to start off with.
Adam, that is terrific. This is so beautiful. I love it. It's very natural, but like you said, it can go all the way through the winter season.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's perfect. Now remember, when you're gonna get your pine and things, don't steal that from the local park. You need to ask permission before you take that. But that's definitely something that we can accomplish. I am very much looking forward to drying some citrus at my house to see if it smells really nice. I think that's just a good way to get in the holiday spirit as well. So thank you very much to Adam from Mountain State Flower Farm. Again, if you have any questions about how any of this was done, we're going to save it to our IGTV so you can watch it again. And you can direct any questions to us at Putnam Library or to Mountain State Flower Farm. You want to follow him on Instagram. You're doing amazing things.
Well, thank you.
You're doing some really great stuff. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, Adam, for being here. Beautiful wreath today. Bye, guys.
Bye.